In lighting, we often have to come up with practical lighting effects to accompany the set to help elevate the mood or atmosphere of a scene. For example, the light of a fire exit sign, a house lamp to give a more natural lighting effect, the warm glow of a heater, or perhaps a flicker of light on the hob to represent a gas stove, and many more. These practical effects help to create a more realistic scene by trying to reproduce light as you would often see from real-life items. Typically, these effects cannot be replicated through fixtures hanging in the rig alone, so we must think of other ways to reproduce them. It all depends on the effect and/or object you're hoping to replicate, and with it comes its challenges. For this example, we will discuss the process of trying to create a practical used in a contemporary performing practice show, or CPP for short. Our fellow CPP students held a festival named Into the New, where each fourth year graduating student created their own piece to showcase during the festival period. The showcase involved things such as live performances, live streaming, experimental, and digital content. For one show, there was a performer that would sit in front of an old TV, and the student in charge of that show had requested that a flickering light effect appear on the performer's face. A simple yet easy effect to imply that the TV was working and the performer was watching this in the dark. In reality, this was simply LED tape stuck to the front of the monitor that had RGBW and DMX control. This would allow us to control the tape easily from the lighting desk and flash various chips to create the desired effect. This solution turned out to be budget-friendly, easy to implement, and highly effective on stage. On another show, we had a lamp. This lamp was a bit more complex as it wasn't just an ordinary lamp made to light a room. The lamp itself was almost like its own character, and a core element to this performance, meaning not only was its functionality important, but its shape, materials, and interactions were all considerations for this student's performance. Even its cable and plug were all elements to be kept in mind. The student in charge of the show requested the following. First, to use their own lamp for their own performance. This meant that there could be little to no modification to the lamp as they had requested it back after the performance ended. The second request was for it to dim and to colour change. These two are simple enough to do if we used LED tape again. However, the student had started experimenting with shadow play using the lamp for their performance. This would be hard for LED tape to do as it wouldn't be bright enough, and anything that is, and with colour changing properties, would start to look a bit pricey. There was talk of perhaps having both a tungsten bulb for brightness and LED tape for colour changing. Let's take a look at implementing that into our lamp. If we had a tungsten bulb in it, we could easily fit a 15-amp plug to give us dimming control from the desk. However, after taking a closer look at the construction of the lamp, we noticed that the bottom was sealed off, meaning we couldn't gain access to do any rewiring. We also couldn't fit any wiring through this area as it was also sealed off. And if we wanted to make it wireless, then this section would be too narrow to allow for decoders, drivers, and batteries, etc. Unless we drilled a small hole in the side, there wouldn't be any way to slip in any additional LED tape wiring through the lamp. The third request was keeping the extension cable seen on stage. The lamp was plugged into a single socket white extension cable, and the student had requested that they light this element and for it to stay on stage, so any plans just to extend the cable from the lamp wouldn't be possible. So where does that leave us? It's clear having both a tungsten bulb and LED tape would be difficult to implement cleanly, so we decided to stick with just LED tape. This can still dim and colour change just with less intensity, and thankfully later down the line, the student had decided there was going to be no shadow work in their performance, so intensity became less of a core factor. However, their lamp was still not suitable for any rewiring tasks we had in mind, so we opted for a backup lamp sourced from the prop store. Now let's take a look at our new lamp. First, we have our DMX decoder, LED driver, our LED tape that will be attached to the lampshade and wired to the DMX decoder, connect the DMX decoder to the LED driver, fit a plug end onto the LED driver, and finally a line of DMX going to the decoder. With this setup, you should be able to power the LED tape and have control over it via a lighting desk. However, this setup leaves us with two cables trailing from the lamp, which isn't ideal if they are moving about the stage with it, and hard to disguise as one cable. Creating one cable would be possible using one with enough copper cores, but power and data would have to be split at some point. And let's not forget, we still have to plug into an extension, so power and data would have to split at this extension point on stage, which isn't ideal. In addition, at this point in the production process, the student requested to be able to move the lamp into the first 3 rows of the auditorium stalls, which will add a lot more length to whatever cable we have to create and the possibility of having to unplug and replug into another extension situated in the stalls, making this silly contraption less of an option than it already was. Let's have a look at having the DMX decoder and the LED driver out with the lamp and situated offstage. First, we'll have the 13 amp plug in to the driver, wire the driver to the decoder, a line of DMX, and wire the decoder to the tape. That leaves us with one long cable that we can easily extend into the stalls, however you wouldn't be able to fit an extension in between. At this point we had little time and money, so it was decided that there wouldn't be an extension on stage and instead just have one long consistent cable going to the lamp. This gave us the dimming and colour changing elements at the cost of cutting out a few aesthetic requests, all the while staying within budget. I hope this gives you a better idea of the type of problem solving involved in creating practicals and encourage everyone to create some weird and wonderful elements to help brighten up a show.
Also, we didn't even end up using the lamp at all, we used the original